Great. Welcome, everybody. And this is our normal Thursday night chat, but it's going to be a little unique tonight in that we're going to be talking about certain psychological elements. Normally, we talk about physiological things, although we will have a little bit of that tonight. But at the end is really, I think, going to be the kicker with some techniques and things that you can use, practical things that you can use to develop mental toughness and what that's all about. So let's share a little screen tonight. Here we go. And from the beginning, here we go. So you should probably be able to see. Oh, there we go. And there, whoa. There it is. You probably see this purple screen that says, "Thanks for coming today, LA Roadrunners." Good. Hayden, thank you for the thumbs up. Here we go. So thank you all for coming today. I like this quote: "If you have a body, you're an athlete." Bill Barman, who invented the Nike shoe. It just says it all. If you're human, you're an athlete. That's it, period. I like that quote to start with. This is me, a little bio. And this is the book I wrote or co-wrote. Here we go. Tonight's chat, the major topics for tonight is don't categorize yourself. Have some rituals before a race that you can do to make you put yourself at ease and calm yourself. And then the big ticket tonight is mental toughness and what the heck is that and how do you develop it? And at the end, like I said, those tools and techniques that'll really help you get through the tough parts of the last part of really your races. So the first things you have to understand is, psychologically speaking, your cerebral processes, your mental processes, your brain is 90% unconscious. And as proof of this, think about it. How many of you really are aware at any given time in your entire life of your pancreas, your liver, your kidneys, your gallbladder, you name it, all of those major vital organs you are never, ever, ever consciously in control of, and yet your subconscious brain is controlling them all the time, even when you are asleep. Because if your brain stopped controlling those things, you would basically drop dead. So at any rate, whoops, there we go. And let's see, is there somebody else I need to mute? Good, okay. And so that 90% of your thought is unconscious. Now, in order to deal with your unconscious, so you're more attuned to doing all sorts of things, it's really a matter of repetition. For example, you don't think in terms of your arms and legs when you run. It's just a subconscious idea. You think, I will start running, I will speed up, I will slow down. You can focus on certain specific things. But you can't focus on every little detail. Where is my head? Where is my foot? Am I dorsiflexion? Am I holding my hands too tight? What am I doing? That's all unconscious. And the only way to deal with that and change your form is through repetition. Just arm swinging the same way over and over and over and over again to correct your arm swing. Landing is certain not with your foot way out in front of you, just shortening your stride, doing that in repetition. And this will become more important when we get into mental toughness. Repetition is really how you reprogram what is really a very highly 90% programmed mind. We are not aware of so many things that go on inside of our brain, which I'll get into later in more detail. Second, don't categorize yourself psychologically. That can be a negative thing. Don't limit yourself, especially when you start a season. Last season I was a 4-hour or 3-hour marathoner. Oh darn, I'm still a 3-hour marathoner or whatever it is. Don't categorize yourself, because here's the next thing. Don't sell yourself short, because you don't know who you are until after you've done it. I mean, think about that a minute. You know, you don't know you're a mountain climber until after you've climbed a mountain. You know, you don't know that you're a sub 3-hour marathoner until after you've run sub 3. Now, there is a caveat for all of you who are about to do a half marathon this weekend, and that's that I think of racing as really an extension of where are you at in your training, and then just execute. That's how you do a race. You're just basically executing where you are in your training. But then again, that goes back to don't categorize yourself, because with better, more training, even more volume, you're going to do better. Your fitness levels will be higher. So just because you do something on the half marathon doesn't mean you can't do a little better some 10 weeks from now on the LA Marathon. And let's face it, you're going way farther. So yeah, that will be better just by itself. Proper training and focus can change who you are. And that's the end result of all of this discussion, is really training, and consistent training, like I said, can build you up so that you're not in a category. You're not a 3-hour, 4-hour, 5-hour, 6-hour marathoner. You're going to be somebody different. You know, just proper training and consistent focus on what you're doing will change who you are. Unfortunately, there is no magic pill to all of this. There's nothing you can take and say, I will go faster, or I will be a different person, or I will be, 30 pounds less, or 30 pounds stronger, or whatever. You can't, no magic pill, unfortunately. Certainly nothing that is legal. Here's some, pick some rituals before a race. This is actually important. Find a ritual before the race that calms you. Find a moment that you can take to yourself, be it inside the room before we go out to the starting line, in the locker room at Rose Bowl Half, or in the inside the room at Dodger Stadium. Find a moment, or even in the corral itself. That's where I do it. Find a moment where you can have a personal ritual, a personal moment, and that ritual needs to do something that calms you. It needs to make you feel at home. It gives you hope, motivation. Here's an example. I heard this from a PhD in exercise psychology, a psychologist talking about who dealt with athletes. And he said, there was this basketball player that would dribble before throwing the free throw, right? He got fouled, you do a free throw, right? So before the free throw, he would dribble the ball once, hold it, dribble the ball twice, hold it, dribble the ball 3 times, hold it, and then he would shoot the free throw, right? And somebody once asked him, every time, famous basketball player always did the same thing: dribble, stop, dribble, stop, dribble, stop, 3 times, always 3. Same ritual over and over again before he threw that free throw. And somebody asked him, well, why do you do that? Why 3? And he said, I have 3 kids at home, 1 for each kid. And that was something that made him, calmed him down, gave him focus, made him feel like he was at home, gave him hope, motivation. I imagine my dog, kind of who I used to have for 15 years of my life, kind of next to me. And I just imagine her there. That's something maybe weird that I do, but it helps do all of those things, motivates me, calms me down, makes me feel at home. She's running with me. We used to run together all the time. You could have a religious pendant that you just hold, maybe a prayer that you can do, something, anything that fits those things that gives you focus, makes you feel at home, calms you down, gives you hope, motivation, energy. All of those things are what's needed to create a good working ritual. So find a ritual for yourself. It's a very individual thing. So getting back to mental, this is really the beginning of the ticket for tonight's discussion. Mental toughness, as I kind of alluded to, is derived by training. I mean, imagine if you want to get used to running in cold rain, you run in cold rain. And if you run in cold rain enough times, you will get used to running in cold rain. It's just a very simple part of repetition and training. Your subconscious mind gets used to it. There are certain physiological things that change that you are unaware of in your 90% of your unconscious cerebral processes that go with that training. For example, if you run in the heat and you run in the heat and you run in the heat and you run in the heat, your subconscious brain will cause your body to sweat more. You will sweat more. Your body will train itself to open the pores and cool itself off more efficiently. That's a process of repetition, training, and heat. You will get goosebumps when you run in the cold. You will learn to run relaxed when it's cold out. All these things, it's just repetition and training and kind of reprogramming yourself to deal with whatever it is that you're dealing with. Or going to be dealing with. Hills, great example. You know, you do hill training enough times, hills and hills and hills and hills, you get used to running up a hill. It's nothing that you focus on. It's just subconsciously your running form kicks in. You have shorter, quicker stride going up and down those hills, and it becomes a little easier going up and down those hills. Okay. All right, subconscious thought, we just kind of cleared that one. And experiences. You know, what you experience over and over again, you will get used to. Really pretty simple, following in with the rest of the subconscious thought and training. But here's something that most people don't know about. It's really a kind of new understanding that leads us more into mental toughness and how you deal with it. Limiters and governors. Again, going back to subconscious thought, that 90% of your cerebral processes, your brain will not allow you to blow up. You know, your brain will not allow you to actually run out of glycogen. You know, you turn, we use fat and carbohydrate, fat more at low heart rate, carbohydrate more at high heart rate, but carbohydrate turns into glycogen, right? So you do use glycogen, and at, like I said, higher heart rate, more narrow reservoir fat, more abundant reservoir, usually more at low heart rate. All right. Your body won't allow you to run out of glycogen, even though you hit the wall, you bonk, you crash, you burn, you feel like you've run out of glycogen. But what's happening really, what we find now, is people don't actually run out of glycogen. What happens is you have these governors, these limiters in your subconscious brain that says, okay, we're running low on glycogen, something you cannot consciously be aware of. We're running lower on glycogen. We're shutting this machine down. So you have these limiters and governors that will keep you, we're getting dehydrated, we're shutting you down, we're slowing you down. You know, it's hot out and you're using more sweat. We're shutting you down, we're slowing you down, you're walking, dude. That's all part of this subconscious thing, are these governors. Like your car has a built-in governor that will only allow it to go so fast, and because beyond that, your engine could actually melt. So they build in these governors that will keep your engine from going too fast. Got it? Same thing with our bodies. We are magnificently designed machines that we aren't completely even aware of, except maybe 10%. So, okay, where does all of that understanding take us into reality and something that you can use? Well, I love the idea that, well, I'm being silly by saying I love the idea. I I love when people say, oh, it's 95% mental, it's 99% mental, it's just you got to be tough. Well, what the hell does that mean? How do you use that? Well, where does that get you? Whether you clench your fists and tighten your face until your face goes red, and then suddenly, I don't know, that's a really stupid thing to do, because you're just simply using more energy, and you don't want to use more energy, so don't do any of that. So what do you do to develop mental toughness? Well, we already talked about just repetition and training, and okay, that's the first one I just mentioned here on the screen. Training. Like I said, you want to get used to running in the cold rain, run in the cold rain. Get used to heat, you run in the heat. But here's some other things that you can do that will help motivate you and keep you going, even though your brain, to override those governors to a point, and not only override those governors, where you can continue and go faster, even though your brain is shutting, your subconscious brain is shutting you down. You got glycogen to go. How do you tap into that? How do you overcome that governor? Well, here are some ideas. Running and meditation are possible. Here's how you do it. As you're running and you're really stressed out, you can meditate while you're running. Here's a story, and then I'll tell you how to do it. I'm running down. I was a pace leader many, many years ago for 9 years with the Roadrunners. And one year we were running back down the alleyway down Speedway, coming back from the jetty. We had just entered the alley off the jetty. You kind of know that one. And there's really not much to see. And pretty quickly, we're running down block after block after block and toward Washington Street, but we're nowhere near it. And somebody says in our little group, actually it was a pretty big group, but our group, somebody says, guy, my hip's starting to hurt. And my hip started hurting. And somebody, I swear, like seconds later, like 5 seconds later, said, yeah, my knee's starting to hurt. My knee started hurting. Then, my neck is hurting somebody else. And my neck started hurting. And on and on and on. There were about 4 or 5 of these. And I started hurting every one. And I thought, okay, meditate. Here's what we do. So I said to the group, I said, oh, we're still running. I said, don't stop, keep running. What I want all of you to do is don't say a word, don't say anything. What I want you to do, don't think anything. What I want you to do, we're running down the alleyway still. I said, I want you to count your steps. Just count your steps. And it doesn't have to be every step. It could be every 4th step, so I do every 4. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, on and on and on. And I found personally with my stride length, I tend to run with a little longer stride, which I should not, but with my stride length, I can count to 100 every 4th step, and I'm another mile down the road. And it's like, oh, hey, okay. Which goes into 2 more points down the road here. Go to the next thing you see, or in my case, I went to the next mile. But okay, and I'll get into that in a minute. But we all maintained our pace. We didn't slow down. In fact, at the end, we actually sped up. And I asked a guy, a true yogi, a guy who teaches transcendental meditation, turban and all, a real certified yogi, certified to teach meditation and other things. And I said, he's also an avid runner. I said, would counting your steps while you run be an actual form of meditation? He said, yes, absolutely. Meditation, really just requires a nonsensical rhythmic series of words or syllables, and numbers would do that. It's just a rhythmic equation on and on and on that you can do that's absolutely meaningless. You're not thinking about the sports scores of the day or how you're feeling or anything else. You're just in this meditative state, just numbers. And sure enough, my knee pain went away, which I didn't really have ever. It was just psychological. My hip pain, which I've never had, just went away. And all these psychological pains that I was feeling and all these other people, we maintained our pace. No problem. We maintained our rhythm. We maintained just no thought whatsoever. And we got to actually about half mile toward the finish, and we all sped up because we knew we were finishing. We were actually finished on Windward back then, that huge circle in Venice. That's where we finished way, way back when. And right before that, we actually sped up. So that is one really, really good tool that you can use. I cannot emphasize it enough. When you get toward the end of your race, when you're feeling like, oh my God, I'm going to stop. I can't, I'm going to walk. I'm burned out. I'm dying. I hit the wall. Count your steps. Just start counting your steps. And pace leaders and others, all of you, let people know this technique. Just keep going. Just count your every fourth step, every other step, 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever it is, fourth step, 6 steps. Count from 1 to 10. I count from 1 to 100. It just doesn't matter. Count 1 to 5. Who cares? Just count. Okay. 1 to 1,000. It's a bit much, but okay. Whatever you want. Doesn't matter. So that's that. Count your steps. Next one is a single negative thought kill you. And that is so true. Pardon me, I had something in my eye. Really, with anything that you do in life, here's an example of a story and then something more specific. Another psychological lecture I heard, the guy was talking about a pro cyclist who, an Xterra cyclist, they ride bicycles on dirt. It's like a dirt track out in usually, kind of the wilderness, whatever. That's their race track is path. So anyway, this guy, this pro athlete is riding his bike and he sees 2 rocks, big giant rocks, one to the left, one to the right. And all he needs to do is go right on the path, right between them, like everybody else is doing. They're all going right between these 2 giant, like 6-foot boulders, right on either side. So he's thinking, I will not hit the boulder. I will not hit the boulder, which in of itself is a negative statement, the word not, right? Well, your brain, this subconscious brain of yours, does not hear negative thought traditionally in that way. So it focuses out the word not, and it focuses on, I'm going to hit the boulder. I'm going to hit the boulder. Oh my God, you're focused on this boulder now. So what happens when you're riding a bicycle and your head is turned to the side and you're looking at the boulder? You're focused your attention on not hitting the boulder, but you're really looking at the boulder. What happens is when your head is turned, your shoulders tend to follow your head, right? And when your shoulders and hands follow your head on a bicycle, that turns your bicycle, and he hit the boulder. Got it? Not really a good thing. And he was a pro athlete. So somebody asked him after the whole thing was done, because no one else hit the boulder, well, what were you thinking? You hit the boulder. And he was thinking, I'm not going to hit the boulder. I'm not going to, and he was focused and his arms turned and he was looking right at the boulder, which he hit. So the key is it would be better to think a positive thought. I will make it between the 2 boulders. I will easily make it between the 2 boulders. There's a positive affirmation. And sure enough, your focus is right between the 2 boulders, and you will go right between the 2 boulders. Simple as that. So there's a difference between a positive affirmation and a negative affirmation, meaning focus, a positive focus and a negative focus. If you start thinking, oh my God, I'm dying, this is killing me. Or, oh my God, that person, will they please stop talking? They're driving me nuts. A single negative thought can kill you. It can destroy your energy levels. It can demotivate you during a race. The better thing is to start, if you don't like listening to what's going on around you, in your head, start thinking a tune and run with that rhythm, those steps with the rhythm of that tune. Obviously, if you have earphones, you can turn it a little louder, and what the heck? I know a lot of people run with earphones. I can't do that because I have a very strong sense of rhythm when I'm tapping, and if I'm hearing a different rhythm in my head, it drives me nuts. But there's a positive thing that you can do, is think of this great song that you love in your head with the rhythm of your feet, with the rhythm of the song in your head. I do that all the time. Positive things, obviously, if you get to a point where, oh my God, this run, when is it over? You probably have been going too fast for too long, or you could just focus on something positive like, I am going to kill this race. I am coming for the finish line. And coming up, we're going to talk about imagining things. You could imagine, I am going to win the race. Right? Focus on a positive thing rather than not on, I'm exhausted, or just count your steps and focus on nothing. But there again, a single negative thought can kill your race. I think of that as a good rule of thought for anything in life too. You can't be positive when a negative thought pops in your head, get rid of it. Anyway, the other day, my wife screamed in the apartment. I said, what the hell? What's wrong? And she said, I had a negative thought I wanted to get rid of. A good thing to do, get rid of your negative thoughts. Good. I kind of alluded to this next one. Go to the next thing you see, right? When you start to get tired, for me, it's I count my steps and I go to the next mile marker. That's sort of my next thing. I get to 100 steps. That's me. Everyone's different step-wise. But I get to 100 steps. I'm at the next mile. I go to the next mile. I start over from 1. When I hit 100, I'm at the next mile. So go to the next thing you could see. I remember Julie did a really, really tough race, and she would go to the next, there were these road cones, those orange rubber road cones in the road that were lined on the center of the road on this one race. And she went to the next 5th cone down. And then once she hit that next 5th cone, she went to the next 5th cone down. So she broke it all up. I know a lot of people, myself included, I'll break up a marathon into quarters, 4 quarters, 10K. So mile 6, mile right halfway, mile 20, and then the finish line. I will take one little bottle from my fuel belt. I have these 7-ounce bottles, and each of those 4 quarters of the marathon, I will fill up another one, and the powder's already in it, so it's good to go. I only have 1 water bottle going for each of the quarter of the race. So I focus on quarters of the race. That's the next thing for me. And then when I get tired, it's the next mile, the next mile, the next mile. But focus on the next tree. I'm going to run to that tree, and then I'll slow down a bit to the next tree. And then I'll speed up again to the next tree, on and on and on. Focus to something that you can see when you're getting tired as a tool that you can use. Here may be the best tool that you can use to alter your subconscious thought that I can tell you about. And here it is. Think of an emotion, big emotion. It could be fear, it could be hysterical laughing, it could be crying, it could lead you to rage, it could lead you to feeling anything that gives you a huge, huge emotion. And think of it this way. if you were being chased by an animal that was large with big, ugly teeth, what would that, and you had just run 20 miles, what would that, animal, seeing that animal, what would that fear is an emotion, what would that fear do to your energy level? Answer, you would run like hell, faster than you would run in the whole period in that 20 miles. You would take off, you would climb trees, you'd climb cliffs. There would be nothing in your way that would slow you down seeing that animal coming at you, right? You'd suddenly have all this emotion, all this energy from that emotion of fear. So here's some ideas. I once had a runner and she had two twins who she loved dearly, and they were always at home. They were never on race site, but I said to her, when you start getting tired, out loud, call it out. Say, oh, damn, I left my kids in the hot car, and take off. Because for her, that would be a big emotion, fear. She left her kids in a hot car. Obviously, they're at home. This is an imagined thing. But I had her imagine this, and it did help. Imagine like anything, an old boyfriend that really pissed you off and you would love to run by them, and they're on the course. Imaginary thing that old boyfriend may be totally out of your life in a different state, but something you could imagine, maybe if it's real for you to imagine this. A funny scene from a movie, something, like I said, totally made up, something that might bring you to tears, just crying. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm going to win the race. I am the front runner of this race. I hear these people clapping. I see them. I hear it in the distance. They're applauding for me. I am coming. I am going to that finish line. That gets you excited. That gets you up there. That gives you the energy to continue on, to break through those governors, those limiters that are slowing you down and holding you back and enabling you to maintain. An emotion, something to put in your back pocket, theoretically. Think of a scenario that just gets you going. Anything. That will keep you going. That will break through those limiters, those governors. That will even speed you up when you want to speed up. In the last couple of feet of a race, you can mechanically speed up just by raising your hands a little higher up than you normally are and push back a little higher. Your knees will come up a little higher. Focus on pushing back a little higher, harder, and bringing your hands up a little higher. You'll almost be sprinting to the finish line. That is a mechanical way to speed up the last few feet of your race, maybe last few 50 feet of your marathon or so. But part of mental toughness goes back to just plain training and physiology. For a race, physiologically speaking, you are depleting resources. That's really what it's all about. Your subconscious is saying, like I mentioned, you're running out of glycogen, you're running out of hydration, water, you're running out of sodium because you've sweated it out. And sodium gives you the ability to absorb hydration, by the way. If you're not feeling thirsty, or if you're feeling even a little nauseous, you may be sodium depleted because you may be dehydrated. Your body's saying, I don't want any more because I can't absorb it. So you may be sodium depleted. That's something called hyponatremia, which is very common amongst marathoners and especially on a hot day. It's not going to be a hot day. It will probably be about 44 to 46 degrees on the starting line of the Rose Bowl Half Marathon this Sunday. So dress in layers, stay warm. You may want to wear arm warmers, a hat, and some layers, like I said. And stay in that dressing room, that locker room until like 10 minutes to go, and then walk out really quick and jump in your corral as best you can. Stay warm as long as you can, you guys. Leave dry clothes in the locker room. For after your race, you can change into something dry and warm. Just a tip for this Sunday, but as an aside. But you benefit from replenishing things like 40 to 60 milligrams of carbohydrate intake during your race per hour. 40 to 60 milligrams. Now we will have goo on the course, which is about 23 milligrams of carbohydrate in one gel packet. But that's only 23. I'm saying 40 to 60 in 1 hour. We will have electrolyte, which is a lot of people, I don't know anybody, I have yet to meet anybody that doesn't like the flavor of this stuff. I like it a lot. And it has a lot of minerals. Has a little less carbohydrate than like Gatorade or some of these others new one, but it is our drink this year at the half and the full. Goo is also at the full marathon as well, the LA Marathon. But not quite as many carbohydrates, more minerals, really good for a hot day, which we're not having this Sunday, but it does have some carbs in it, which will figure maybe you're going to get like 3-4 milligrams of carbs per cup of electrolyte. You get like 4-ounce cups. They're going to pour it into cups, just like they've always had. There are water tables. There are 7 water tables, kind of evenly divided throughout the course of the Rose Bowl half and every mile in the LA Marathon. And they will have both water in white cups and then electrolyte. And I'm not sure what color the electrolyte cups will be in, but volunteers will be water here, next table is electrolyte, or, water this table, electrolyte the next table. So add it up in your mind beforehand as to how much electrolyte you need and how many gels or gummy bears or blocks or whatever. Think of about 3 blocks is the equivalent of 1 gel. So that's about right. Almost 3 blocks for 1 gel is the equivalent carbohydrate and minerals. Just a little physiological discussion there, but that adds to mental toughness, because if you're not depleting, you're not hitting the wall. So it's not that tough, getting tougher and tougher is a lot to do with a high heart rate and depleting glycogen and like I said, sodium and hydration and all those other things. So that's pretty much it. Really, I only know of 2 books on mental toughness that really talk about the governors and all that stuff. That's really new understanding. Neurology is very much, I believe, the future of endurance sport analysis or study. That is the future of endurance studies. And I know only 2 books, one by Alex Hutchinson, which is a New York Times bestseller I read, is a great book called Endure. And Matt Fitzgerald actually has a couple books that mention the topic of, like I said, brain training for runners, and other things where he's mentioned this concept. But it's very new, limited kind of stuff on the market out there in terms of coaching and science. With that, I always like this saying, train smart and train to win, because if you don't, you won't. And if you do, you just might win, that is. I thank you all, and we will see you all at the finish line. Now, for those of you who are on live, please stay on. For those of you who were just watching this recording, I am going to stop the recording and thank all of you who are watching at home or wherever for watching this, and all of you watching live. I'll be right with you in 1 second. Good night, everybody.